Hi everybody and welcome to Des and Lauren. This morning we'll be speaking about a threat to our democracy and how two of the largest parties in South Africa are conspiring against the citizens.
And the idea is that John Steenhuisen, the party leader, not the person making the decisions, has said openly that they are in no coalition with the ANC. But you see behind the scenes, there's a lot more happening. And it's easy to hide what is actually taking place. And there's many articles talking about this right now. And the chief editor of News 24 has actually put out an article to say why this is the greatest moment in South African history, because they support this new order that is being created in our political system.
This is an article from News 24. We'll put the link in the description. The National Dialogue on Coalition Governments has turned smaller political parties against two of the biggest political organizations in the country. The two-day dialogue at the University of the Western Cape, which brought together all the parties represented in Parliament except the EFF, ended yesterday. An invitation was extended to the Red Berets. What seemed like an agreement between the ANC and the DA on the minimum threshold for parties to enter such agreements at national and local government levels, and the legislation required to achieve this, sent fears that the two parties wanted to throttle the smaller parties. And this is rather terrifying. You know, when you try to legislate limitations on democracy, then we move very quickly into an absolute obvious tyrannical dictatorship that is South Africa.
And a lot of people will say, but this is a good thing, this is a grand thing. A lot of people in the DA are shocked by this. And this is not a normal coalition. This is passing legislation, a bill that can be passed by the DA and the ANC because they have the majority in Parliament, to make sure that anyone below a certain threshold is not part of any government at any level.
Is this going to set the tone for future legislation, with the opposition working hand in hand with the ruling party? It's going to be interesting to see when the UN wants more of the agenda to be rolled out faster and more efficiently. Will the two biggest parties conspire together to make sure it happens because they have enough votes in Parliament?
Well, especially thinking back on the COVID-19 pandemic, whatever comes next, and it will come, will be worked together on by these two parties like it was before and bulldozed through society, and your freedoms will be the thing that suffers. And that is why there are other options. There are smaller parties that are trying to get into the political spectrum.
Smaller is actually the wrong word.
Correct.
Newer parties, and parties that need to be given a chance. And the problem is with the political system is that the parties currently represented in government get a whole lot of money from taxpayers. Any party that's new on the block, they have to start from absolute scratch, and that alone is undemocratic. All funding towards political parties from government should be stopped. That makes us all on an even footing, but we know that's not going to happen. And what will always resonate with me is words of someone that works within the sphere of government that said, what's happening in Parliament is that wolves are making the laws for the sheep. Us, the voters, unfortunately, are the sheep, but that's exactly what it is.
And the main thing now is to educate you so that you understand what is happening with regards to your freedom. When you are told that you can't buy slip-slops, that you are not allowed to go to the beach or hike in nature or various other things, that you understand where this comes from, because these decisions are made outside of this country, brought to a power-hungry party system, a power pact between the DA and the ANC. And they don't need to be in coalition to do this, because they have the same puppet masters.
Absolutely. And then I think that the parties that stand to lose the most, the two biggest parties, because their support is diminishing every single year, I think they would rather adopt a two-party American-like system than have any other kind of system. They want to hold onto power at all costs. The two biggest parties will inevitably lose the most as we go on and on and on in our democracy. And with the system, how we want to change the system with organic humanity movement, a lot of people ask us, so what are you going to do? Is it going to be similar to the American system? Couldn't be further from that. We want to introduce something completely new that hasn't existed in the world yet. And I think it'll be a very beautiful thing. But in the meantime, as those in power start to lose their grip on power, they're going to try and legislate everything.
And what they are legislating is tyrannical. And they will sell it as usual, as something that is more democratic. And Paul Mashatile actually said that this coalition talks and the way coalition should take place between the ANC and the DA is not for power, it's for the people. We're considering the people when we are doing this.
They also say it's for state stability, and what they mean by that is that who's currently in power within the state
will remain in power.
remaining in power.
And the biggest problem here for them, and why Lawrence says that they will not be able to withstand a new system, is the fact that none of these people will be able to stand on their own in a direct election system, campaign for the public to actually vote for them. These are people that behind the scenes are cajoling, cafoofeling to make sure that they get bums on seats, that they go on a party list. And we need to change that system so that whoever is in Parliament actually has to campaign on their own steam. They should have made a difference in their community and society so that the people will be willing and able to vote for them. And this will change the political landscape completely. Far more than, as Adriaan Basson says, this is the greatest political moment in South African history. Quite the opposite. This is the greatest threat to democracy in our country ever.
And I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I think one of the biggest problems that we're sitting with here, this is a huge red flag that should make every voter's hair stand on end. However, I think that these large sharks, these big parties, count on the fact that the general population, and especially the general population probably that are on YouTube watching videos like this, are politically ignorant. They don't know enough about politics to understand the threat at hand. So it's easy for them to just buy into what the politicians making this legislation will say. Oh, it's not a real threat. It's nothing to worry about. It's for your own good. But if you're politically,
the greater good.
If you're politically educated, you'll see that this is a huge step towards absolute tyranny from the two parties who are supposed to be in opposition with each other but are now working together to hold on to what little power they have left.
And one of the reasons why you decided to leave the political party you were in is because you realized they were not the official opposition.
Absolutely.
They weren't interested in becoming a ruling party. They were fake opposition.
I had that aha moment, and when I had that aha moment, everything started unraveling, where they don't want to govern, and they don't need to. There's a very specific purpose. And think about it. I mean, if you're behind the scenes, or if you represent a group of people behind the scenes that want to control the resources of the country, what do you do to control the people? What do you do to oppress the people? You make sure that you run at least the 3 biggest ideologies in the country, if not more. And that's how you keep a population suppressed and silent. And it's exactly what's happening. We divide it against each other. We get caught up in the petty politics, the shallow politics, when there's something far deeper at play. And these things we discuss in our Thursday night live streams.
So yes, please, you can join us Thursday nights in the live streams, in the live chat membership section, where we discuss all of these problems. And if you become a member for a month, you'll be able to watch all the past content and catch up if you wish. There's over 500 live streams there for you to go and watch. So it's a lot of information. If you care about your future freedom, you will make that effort.
Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe. This is definitely an important one. If you haven't already, go and join our Telegram channel, and the link for that is in the description. We'd love to see you there. We post more than just our YouTube links there, and it's going to be important, especially if you want to keep up to date with the workshops happening, as well as Omega training applications opening in September.
And Omega training is absolutely there to mitigate all of these actions and plans of these people, these power pacts, where they try and absolutely stay in power at all costs to represent their global puppet masters and funders. Please also share this video with your friends and family.
Bye.
Bye.